Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our Friday weekly Lunch and Learn. Every Friday at noon, Sierra Club Iowa chapter goes live to give you an environmental update. And this week we are going to talk about legislative session again because we are thick in the legislative session and we want to talk about a good way to make an impact even if you can't be at the Capitol. So we're going to talk about legislative forums. So I will share my screen and get us started here. All right. So legislative forums are a big place where you can make your voice heard. So what are legislative forums? They're simply just meetings that legislators hold on the weekends back home in their district so that they can hear from their constituents. They're usually about an hour long. Sometimes it's just one legislator, or sometimes they kind of team up and there'll be multiple legislators there. They're open to the public. They're usually at libraries or city hall buildings, community centers, restaurants, coffee shops. And it's a chance for you to hear from your legislator and ask them questions. It's pretty informal, and legislative forums are a great way to make an impact if you can't be at the Capitol. So, what happens at these forums? Not every forum is the same. So, this is the general format of them, but it could be really informal where you just show up, sit down at a restaurant at a table, and have some conversation. But generally, you want to show up early and sign in, and then you kind of get an idea of how the forum's going to be run. You can find out if you ask questions out loud or if you have to submit them in writing ahead of time. And it usually starts out with the legislator introducing themselves, and then they give an update on the bills or the issues that they care about or that they think their constituents care about. And then usually at the end, there's time for a question and answer. And then always remember that after the meeting, you may even have a little bit more time to have a one-on-one conversation with the legislator. So it's pretty simple. It's just a chance for legislators to hear from their voters back home. So why are these important? It ensures that your legislators are hearing from you. At the Capitol, there are lots and lots of lobbyists that are talking to them every single day. And it's really hard for everyday people to get up to the Capitol when they have jobs or kids they have to take care of, or, just being far away from the Capitol. So it makes sure that those legislators get to hear from the people who are actually voting from them back home. And another good thing is that since you're in a room with a bunch of other voters or other constituents, they get to hear about your issue as well and where the legislator stands. So if you want to lift up an important issue and you want to make sure that others know that this is going on in the community, it's a great place to not only have your legislator hear it, but other people in your community as well. Sometimes media are at these forums, and so that even helps get your message out farther, helps expand the number of people that hear about your issue if it makes the news. And then finally, the other thing that's really important about legislative forums, it's a good opportunity to build a relationship with your legislator. Once they can put a face to a name, they're going to be more likely to open up your emails, answer your phone calls. If you are up at the Capitol, they're going to recognize you. So it's just a good chance to make sure that that legislator knows who you are and what you care about. So if you go to a legislative forum, you might wonder, well, what do I say? I'm not quite sure what to ask. Well, here in a minute, we've made it very easy for you. But anytime you go to a forum, you just have to kind of plan ahead of time. Pick a couple issues that you care about and, kind of think through them. Prepare a 30 to 60-second question and ask where they stand on the issue or ask if they will support or oppose a specific bill. Now, you may have more time than 30 to 60 seconds, but plan for something pretty short because there might be a lot of people in the room wanting to ask questions as well. And so they're trying to get through them pretty quickly. You want to introduce yourself, basically ask your question, and then listen to the response. So we have a few examples that you can take with you this weekend to legislative forums. And you can copy and paste this word for word. You can kind of tweak it and make it your own. But this is generally what you would want to say at a legislative forum. So the first issue we'll talk about today is statewide renewable siting. And the bill number happens to be HF 2267. Now, the issue you talk about may not have a bill yet, or you don't know the specific bill number. So you just kind of have to describe what the issue is and a bill that you would like to see. So just be planning ahead and knowing if you have a bill number or not. And then your question could go like this. Thank you, Senator so-and-so, for letting me ask my question. My name is Jess. I'm from Des Moines. Over half of Iowa counties have passed ordinances that don't allow landowners to benefit from renewable development, even if they voluntarily would like to enter into these agreements. We need a statewide policy that provides certainty for developers, protects land for open space development and agriculture, and still allows renewable energy to remain a viable option for farmers and counties supporting essential services and infrastructure. Will you support House File 2267? It's a bill that sets clear statewide rules for siting wind, solar, and battery projects. And then you just wait to hear their answer. And you may have to kind of respond a little bit, especially if they avoid answering your question and try to, pivot to something else, kind of say, but sir, would you, or ma'am, would you support this bill? Just kind of be ready if you do have to give a response. Second example we have is another bill that's in the Capitol, and it's on data centers, and it's House File 2261. And an example for this issue is, thank you, Senator so-and-so, for letting me ask my question. My name is Jess Mazur from Des Moines. I'm very concerned about the growing number of data centers in Iowa. Data centers use massive amounts of water and electricity, threatening increased electricity and water costs for consumers. Big energy users should have to pay their fair share. House File 2261 makes sure that large facilities like data centers don't pass their energy costs onto regular customers, helping keep our energy bills more affordable. House File 2261 provides clarity on how much water is required by existing large industrial users and potential new users in order to ensure long-term sustainability of water resources and ensure those costs aren't passed on to everyday Iowans. Will you support House File 2261 when it comes up for a vote? And by the way, I will post these in the comments after this is over so that you can even copy and paste these word for word to make it easier for you. The last one that we're going to use as an example is on the carbon pipeline bill, which is House File 2104. And again, started off with, thank you, Representative so-and-so, for letting me ask my question. My name is Jess from Des Moines. Iowans have been fighting to protect themselves from hazardous carbon pipelines for 5 years. It's time to address this issue. House File 2104 removes the ability for carbon pipeline companies to use eminent domain. It's a clean, simple bill that protects property rights. Carbon pipelines are not a utility. They have no public use, public convenience, or necessity. They should not be able to use eminent domain. This bill is supported by Sierra Club Iowa chapter, Iowa Association of Counties, Iowa Association of County Supervisors, Iowa Farmers Union, and the large landowner groups that have been fighting for 5 years. Will you support House File 2104 with no amendments when it comes up for a vote? So you can use any of those 3 examples this weekend if you go to a forum, or you can come up with your own, but hopefully you'll at least pick one of these to bring with you. And another thing to keep in mind is there may be a bunch of people in the room that are all going to ask very similar questions. So sometimes it's good to bring, a couple ideas just in case somebody else asks the question that you wanted to. All right. So let's talk about how we can take action and put this information to work. So this weekend or, next weekend or anytime in the future, we'd ask you to please attend a forum in your area. Ask a question and let us know what you hear. You can report back at iowa.chapter@sierraclub.org. Some tips are show up early so that way you can make sure you know how the forum's going to be run. Bring some friends for some moral support. And if you're not able to ask your questions because they're only accepting them in writing and they filtered yours out or something, see if you can talk with the legislator after the meeting. Sometimes they'll stick around for a half hour or so, and you might be able to have a one-on-one conversation with them after. All right, we're going to tell you when the upcoming forums this weekend are. So if you do have time today, there are 3 forums that we know about this afternoon in Iowa City, Waterloo, and another one in Iowa City. So please attend these if you are in the area. And if you know of any others, send them our way and we will post them in the chat section. Saturday, we've got quite a few forums tomorrow. So if you are in the Eldridge, Glenwood, Fort Dodge, Oskaloosa, Wilton, Arlington, Windsor Heights, Comanche, Council Bluffs, Marion, or Coralville area, you'll see that you have a forum. I did most of these are the ones before 10 a.m. So you have the early morning forums. You can see where they're held and you can see which legislators will be in attendance. And you can rewind this video and go back and take a look at this longer if you need to write any of these down. All right, then we have the 10 a.m. and after forums that are happening tomorrow on Saturday. So if you're in Grinnell, Sioux City, Carlisle, Bettendorf, Manning, Des Moines, Urbandale, Wapello, DeWitt, Ottawa, Sac City, or Marion, there is a forum near you. And you can see again which legislators will be in attendance, where it's held. And again, those usually last about an hour, but all of these could be run a little bit different just depending on how the legislator likes to hold their forums. So we hope that you attend one of these forums this weekend. We will post when future forums are, so that way if you can't go this weekend, you can go in the future. But this is a really important way to make sure your voice is heard. You know, we aren't always able to be at the Capitol as much as lobbyists are, but we can use these forums to make sure that legislators know what their community thinks about the issues being debated at the Capitol. So if you have any questions, please put those in the comment section and we will get to those later on. And we will also post the actual text of the 3 example issues that we provided for you so you can use those. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll see you next Friday and have a good weekend, everyone. Thanks.